Given that it is men that are responsible for most of our, all of our sacred text, it's really hard to find those snippets that reflect other elements of this tradition. And they were there. We know they were there, and very often swept under the carpet. So we know that there is, within our tradition, a tradition that suggests that the mystery we call God was both he and she, and that it was Lady Wisdom who was the consort of the Creator. And so here is a passage from Proverbs that speaks from the perspective of the female in the Godhead, who provides, I think, that element of playfulness. When God set the sea its limit, so that the waters should not transgress his command, then was I beside him as his creative muse, and I was his delight day by day, playing before him all the while, playing on the surface of the earth. And together we delighted in the entire creation. You know that from Sunday school, don't you? The Psalms are a little bit more creation-centered when they are not being depression-centered or enemy-centered or I'm just a wiggly worm-centered. Here is an excerpt from Psalm 104, a psalm that would affirm, as Aquinas does, that if you want to understand the mystery we call God, you have to consider the entire creation to be your sanctuary. Gracious mystery, by your wisdom you made so many things. The whole earth is covered with your living creatures, and the ocean, so big and wide, is alive with creatures large and small, as well as Leviathan, the monster you created to splash in the sea, the monster that you created for your playmate. So before I add more words to these images, I'm going to show you a small video, because honestly, me talking about how fun it is to watch dolphins jump is not going to take you anywhere, is it? So let's watch some dolphins jump, because is there anything more magical on this planet? So my research about whales and dolphins has led me to conclude that we have at least, but I'll name the three things that I think we need to learn from them if we are to be healthier human communities. So I'll name the three and then I'll go into them. First of all, they organize themselves so as to support the health of the entire community. No one is left behind. Second of all, they have a deep understanding and are, in fact, probably hardwired to understand what it means to have enough, so that their community does not deteriorate the health of any other animal community, but reinforces the balance. And finally, of course, their playfulness. Unlike humans, the word independence does not exist in the whale and dolphin community. To give the well-known phrase a twist, no whale or dolphin is an island. They know this. They live in pods that include up to 1,000 creatures. Their vision of community includes a commitment to protect the most vulnerable among them. They take turns staying with the injured or the sick individuals, even physically supporting them to the surface if necessary, so that they can breathe, because they are mammals after all. Every member of their community plays an important role that then supports the health and order of the entire community. Older individuals often act as surrogate parents or as guardians of the creches or the nurseries, so that the responsibility can be shared around a group. No exhausted, sleepless mothers in this community. The organization of the community supports the needs of the entire community to eat, to care for individuals at every age and in every stage of life, and supports their need to have playtime. In order for this community, both the whale and the dolphin community, to serve these goals, communication is vital. Whales and dolphins have developed a very rich language. Clicks, grunts, whistles, calls, songs, and more provide them with extensive vocabularies that cover all situations, whether they're supervising and disciplining children, or warning others of danger, or alerting others to feeding time. Communication is central to this community's health. And the one thing that is clear is that these creatures depend on the community to function in this way for their very survival. So, no creature stands alone. They would die. These communities have a very clear understanding of the word enough. One of the research papers I read indicated that orcas in particularly seem hardwired by their genes to share. They have been observed delicately splitting a salmon in two, or taking turns hunting seals on Antarctica ice floes. They make sure that there is enough to go around. The concept of enough is essential, not only for the survival of the pod, but whales and dolphins are also hardwired, as humans are not, to recognize that their health is directly related to the health of the ecosystems in which they live. They seek enough food for their tribe. Not more than enough. Not freezers to store extras in. Which makes them, don't you think, models for healthier human communities. For some reason, we as humans live in fear that we will never have enough. So we better put some aside for a rainy day or two. And that we're not sure there's really enough to go around. As a result, we better hoard and accumulate more for ourselves. And as a result, we have become gluttons. The human species, we are gluttons for food and property and stuff. And we know that it's killing us. And it is also killing the ecosystems that are central to the health of this planet. Every other species has this understanding of enough that will maintain the balance, so each species has enough, except for ours. And finally, I think they have something to teach us about playfulness. I was thinking as I was watching those dolphins, I could just hear somebody's mother going, "Stop showing off." So I don't know about you, but I grew up with the phrase, work before play. And it seems as though I am hardwired that way, for better or for worse. And somehow, as a species, humans have evolved to the point where, on this continent anyway, work is our destiny. And it has not made us healthy. We have created a culture, I think specifically in North America, that is so competitive that half of our young people, even all the way down to elementary schools, high schools, in particular universities, suffer from anxiety, I think connected to their anticipation that there will not be enough for them. They may not find a job. They will definitely not buy a house. It will be, and this is the subtext, I think, survival of the fittest. And so instead of creating this lovely balance of work and play, we have created a culture that is addicted, depressed, and very much cut off from the natural world where we could become acquainted with species on this planet that could inform us of how to escape from our captivity to work and consumption. The truth is that we would be healthier, and our children would be healthier if we nurtured playfulness in one another rather than the kind of competitiveness that fuels consumption and destruction. An increase in playfulness would restore a healthier balance, and when our species is healthier, we live in such a way as to support the health of every other species. So there you have it. The creation of an interdependent community where everyone is aware of their need for one another, and everyone has experienced a unique calling for how to live in that community. An understanding of what is enough, which I think then facilitates all that time for playfulness. Murray has chosen this piece of music to represent the whale song. It is not so playful as the piece he chose to represent the dolphins. During this time for contemplation, I invite you to consider how these marine animals serve as a model for thinking about how to live as humans in a way that would support the health of every species. And then to connect it back to this season of Eastertide that began with this image of Jesus yanking the entire human community out of the tomb. Well, maybe we might be liberated from our tombs of consumption and depression and addiction if we were to pay attention to the invitation that the natural world provides for us of life abundant.